Hey everybody, hope you guys really like the first strategy, the assignment of contract. So now what I'm going to share with you is what's called an assignment of funds. And this actually isn't something that's even taught in a lot of the real estate courses. This is something that I've personally developed that has actually worked time and time again in this local Edmonton, Alberta market. So basically what an assignment of funds is it's sort of the reverse of what an assignment of contract is. With an assignment of contract, you're going to a seller, tying up a property and assigning it to a buyer, and the buyer pays for it. With an assignment of funds, you still go through those steps and tie up a property and find a buyer, but it's actually the seller that's going to pay you. Now, this is great for a few different reasons, and let me share those with you before we get started. Those reasons are basically this. When you're able to help a buyer who might be a first-time home buyer or a new buyer, whereas an assignment of contract kind of is more for investors or people who would be paying an upfront fee for your deal. With an assignment of funds, what you're able to do is basically put a deal together, bring a buyer and seller together, and help a buyer out and get paid from the seller for helping them out. Now, here's how it basically works. So step one is get it under contract. This is pretty much step one in everything, but it's a really important step. Okay. So let's use an example here. Now, what you can do to get it under contract is actually get a real estate purchase contract or an option contract, which I also cover in a future video. So let's just say that you found a average single family home and you got it under contract for $300,000. Okay? Now, this is a deal that you have with the seller. Now, keep in mind, you cannot get paid as an unlicensed real estate person or an unlicensed investor for basically finding buyers to buy properties. That's what a realtor's job is, so make sure you check with your local real estate laws. But as long as you have what's called an equitable interest in the property or own the property, you're able to market it to buyers. So when you have it under contract, you might give a $1 deposit with the rights to buy it for $300,000 in 4 weeks. Okay, let's just write that down. So you've got 4 weeks time. Okay. Once you have an equitable interest in it or you have it under contract, you're actually able to start marketing it and find a buyer. Now what happens in this 4 weeks if you don't find a buyer is, of course, you just tell the seller one of three things. One is you'd like to extend, so maybe you'd like some more time. 2, you'd like to close, maybe you found an investor, a joint venture partner, and actually buy it for that price. Or 3, you just cancel the deal and say, you know what, we're not able to close, and you actually can get your deposit back, whether you put down $1, $100, $500, whatever it actually is. Okay, so step 2. Step 2 is find a buyer. And where you'll typically find these people is, buyers who maybe could not qualify, or people who are looking for a specific property and a specific budget, but really don't have the money to renovate. So let's say, for example, in this situation, you bought it for $300,000, but it needed about $10,000 in renos, and the value, we'll say, $330,000 once it's fixed up. Okay, so you got a 10% discount roughly because it needs some work. So what you're going to do is you're going to find a buyer, and you're going to show them this property. Let's assume they like it. And you say to your buyer, look, we can get you, let's say your buyer only has $17,000 that they can use for a down payment. So traditionally in Canada, first-time mortgage, they're able to put 5% down. So 5% of $300,000 is $15,000. They'd only have $2,000 left over for renovation. So basically they normally could not buy this house. So what you're going to do as a real estate professional is help them buy this house. And here's how you're going to do it. You're going to sell it to them for $330,000. Okay? Now there's 2 ways to do this. One is you can do a double close, but 2 is the assignment of funds, and here's how you're going to do it. So you get them to actually buy it from the seller for $330,000. And there's a contract that I have available. It's called an irrevocable assignment of funds. They sign that, the sellers sign that and basically say that you're going to get paid $30,000 difference. Now, some of you are saying, why would anyone do that? Well, here's the reason. This guy is still getting his $300,000. You know, that might be full price for the property. He might not find anyone else who's going to pay that. And as long as he's getting what he wants, who cares, you know, what you make? You're going to get $30,000, but what you're going to do is actually pay for this $10,000 in rentals. And it'll all come out of the lawyer's trust account on closing, so you don't even have to worry about the accounting on this. Okay? So you're going to find a buyer. Now, the buyer is going to go and qualify for a mortgage. 5% of $330 is $16,500. Okay? Now, they buy it from them. They're in for $16,500, so it's under their budget. You have $10,000 in the lawyer's trust account that comes directly from the seller. That goes to the lawyer. And of course, you are left with the $20,000 spread for putting the deal together. So it's basically step one is get it under contract, so you have an equitable interest in the property. Step two is find a buyer, get them to buy it from the seller. And step three is have an irrevocable assignment of funds. Now, any lawyer will have these documents available for you. We created our own just because it was a simple one-page agreement, but the irrevocable assignment of funds should be signed by seller's lawyer. And the reason you do that is because when $330,000 goes to the seller, you want to make sure that you get paid. And as long as their lawyer sees it and signs the document, it'll basically say that $300,000 goes to them for their house, $10,000 will go into the house for renovations, and $20,000 will go to you as the investor. Step four is, of course, get paid, guys. On closing day, you'll be able to go into the lawyer's office and pick up a trust check, and you are one big happy camper. I mean, think about if you just helped one family get into a house that they wanted per year. Would that help? Would an extra $20,000 in even 1 year help you out of your situation? Would it help them out? Now here's the cool part is, once you start doing this for a while, these people might eventually want to sell. And who do you think they're going to call? They're not going to call probably a realtor, they're not going to call their friends or family, they're going to call you because you were able to get them into the exact house they want, renovated how they wanted, under their budget. And that's why this works, and that's why it's so important that you get this right, guys, because these are things you can do even if you become a super successful real estate investor that owns hundreds and hundreds of doors. These are still deals that you can help people out with in the meantime that will come across your desk. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed the assignment of funds, and we're going to go on to strategy number 3, the double close.